No, I don't. So thanks so much for joining us. We have different folks on the line this morning that are going to give some presentations about the programs that they currently have in response to the COVID public health emergency. And that is Dylan from Serenity House. And do I see, I don't know that Cherish has joined us yet from Olycap. And then also, of course, Christy Smith from United Way and Nicole Clark from the PUD. We're all going to join us this morning. So I know I see Dylan, you are on. Dylan, would you like to kick us off this morning?
Sure, yeah. I'm currently in commute, so pardon any kind of echoing noise.
Actually, okay, so if you're commuting, how about Christy? How about if we get in, maybe you can get to your office and we can ask you to start as soon as you get there. Okay.
Oh, okay,
so,
okay.
Christy, are you available?
Yeah.
Great.
This is Christy. I'm the CEO of United Way of Clallam County. And in March, when COVID started, we kicked off a campaign to raise funds to help our struggling nonprofits. To date, our fund has raised over $259,000. And yesterday we had an executive committee meeting to vote on our most recent grants that we will be putting out. So I can't quite announce those yet because it hasn't been fully voted on. But our board has been working every week that we get applications, we review them and vote on them. So far, we've put out over $197,000 in grants, and it's gone to a variety of different nonprofits. It started with the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club because they were seeing an increased need to take care of children. After that, we helped St. Vincent de Paul and First Step as they were working to outreach to different families in the community and those needs. We also did a large grant with the West End Betterment Association, so Rod Fleck and Forks helped to coordinate that, and that was to help a lot of the migrant families in that community to stay in their homes because they were fearful that people would leave and that would cause a big disruption in folks that live in mobile home parks, to those owners especially, but also to the school district. We've also helped this Forks School District in connection with the concerned citizens so that they could provide meals. The school district out there thought that they were going to be able to do in-person school, and so they asked someone else to take over the summer meal program, and so we worked with those groups to make that happen. We've assisted all of the school districts in back-to-school supplies because normally they're able to collect money or donations for back to school. And so we thought it would be smart to just give them money to purchase supplies. Even though school wasn't going to start like normal, we knew that kids still needed things at home to do their work. Our most recent efforts are looking at the districts to see the gaps in Wi-Fi to make sure that all the students have hotspots if they need them. And so we're working district by district to help them fulfill those needs so that no kids are at home without a way to do school. I'm trying to think what other grants we've done. There's been a lot of them over the last few months. I know we also helped Clown Mosaic and Camp Beausite so that they could serve their clients with special needs, and it's especially confusing for those folks. And so we wanted to make sure we had a way to help them to outreach to those families and give support where they could. That's about it. In the midst of all this, we also had to shift gears for our regular United Way campaign. And so we moved everything to a virtual platform. We upgraded our website so that we could take donations online more easily through our employee campaigns and do presentations instead of in person. We're doing a lot of those virtually, and it's really going well. We've put out letters like normal. We have a report to the community that we put out every year, and that was in the newspaper last week. But I really just encourage you, if you work somewhere that is having an employee campaign, or if you get a letter in the mail, that you consider donating, because our nonprofits are going to need your help more now than ever. They can't do their fundraisers like they used to, and they really just rely on your assistance. So please be generous if you can. I just wanted to finally wrap up with a thought. Yesterday I was watching TV, and Wave Cable has an ad talking about how they're going to give $100,000 to the communities they serve. And I just thought, our community has already done way more than that, and they're a huge company. So I just wanted us to be really proud. Between the home fund and our fund with United Way, that's probably over $600,000 that we've raised as a community to put back out to help people. And that's just the two things that I can think of. So I'm just thankful that we live in such a generous community. What questions do you have, Colleen?
Well, why don't we open it up to folks? If any of you guys have any particular questions whoops, I got a bunch of people waiting here. Any questions of Christy, please feel free to chime in, and we'll go one at a time if there are questions.
Christy, Ed Kozakowski from St. Vincent de Paul. First of all, our thanks to you for the initial grant you gave to us. It really has helped us an awful lot in helping people and being able to meet them face to face and serve them. My question to you is, I think we were going to submit, we've used the first 10,000 you gave us, and we were submitting for a supplemental grant. Are those being accepted at this time?
Yes.
By your organization?
Yeah, we looked at that application yesterday, so you should hear something by the end of the week.
All right, thank you so much.
I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna go like this as a symbol for you.
Not even a secret vote, thank you. Appreciate it.
Christy, it's Jim Stoffer from the School District, and
Okay,
just
so do you have, okay, so right here,
contributions and support throughout all the school districts here in Clallam County. And I don't have a particular question, but just wanted to thank United Way for that outreach. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
So, yeah, I wanted to share that on a Department of Commerce call yesterday, there was some exciting news that the state's broadband director talked about, and that was that next week there will be a formal announcement with Starlink, and they have they've created a pilot program with their broadband low Earth orbit internet system, and they worked with the Ho tribe, and they had great results. And so to provide broadband to people out there, but more details and formal announcements will come out next week with Starlink and SpaceX providing those. And they, the goal apparently was 1 gigabyte upload speed through their system. Apparently they didn't typically achieve that, but they were able to achieve between 100 megabytes and 130 megabytes on a regular basis. And they don't have nearly the satellites up that they believe they'll have by the end of 2021. They're putting up all sorts of low orbit satellites. And so my question has been, well, how much will it cost? And apparently the protocols are that for 1 gigabyte, the cost would be $80 per month. Now that obviously is not going to be feasible for a lot of people that are in the bottom rungs of our social economic ladder, but it definitely is in the step in the right direction. And we'll see what kind of programs the state can create to help fund that. The state is going to be putting in, and they have currently a lot of different a lot of different grant programs for broadband and fiber going in, but it's really expensive to do that. And so this is, you know, it won't cost our state money other than to potentially subsidize people to access that kind of broadband internet. So I see that both Nicole and Cherish are on. Thank you for joining us, ladies. Who would like to talk next? Either one of you. Who's up?
I'll go.
Okay,
I've got
great,
a
Nicole.
conference to get onto. So hi, I'm with Clallam PUD. I wanted to talk about, we were the subrecipient of CARES funds from the county, and we received $45,200, and in the first couple of weeks, we received very few applications, and the difficulty seemed to be in providing documentation. So we clarified that on our website to give a list of some examples. It's not too bad. I mean, even if an employer just provided a copy of something on letterhead for the employee saying, you know, yes, this employee had reduced hours or was laid off or something. So what we did last week for some outreach is we went and we tried to focus on what our customer service departments noticed were pockets where there were still employees laid off. So we reached out to the Jamestown tribe. They were very excited. They got right on their email system and sent an email out to employees and let them know that if they needed something on letterhead, that they could provide that. And so we started seeing a stream of applications coming in there. We reached out to Blackball Ferry Line for the same thing. We also went Friday, a couple of us, and hung 138 door hangers on some low-income apartment buildings here in Sequim. So if you have employees, you know somebody who's got employees that are still either or were impacted, even if they're back to work full-time, but they were impacted financially by COVID, or maybe they were taking care of a family member, they got laid off, they had reduced hours, please send them to our website, because we're trying to get folks to send in these applications, chunk off a little bit of money if they're in arrears at all, before we start going into the winter months. So that's what I have today.
Great. Thank you very much, Nicole. We've got a lot of people on today that work with people in the lower income brackets. And so does anybody here have any questions for Nicole about the program? One thing I wanted to say, and Nicole and I talked about this, and since Randy Johnson, Commissioner Johnson, is on with us, I'll bring it up just for his use. The requirement that is in the contract between the county and the PUD stipulated a certain amount per applicant based on their current income or percent of poverty rate, like
And household size.
and based also on their household size. And from what I understand, that is something that the county created as a requirement. And I'm wondering if the county commissioner should look at potentially a addendum to that contract, allowing either more than 1 month to be paid in the utility payments that are in arrears, or possibly raising that threshold a bit. So to make sure we are able to distribute the full $45,200 to people within the county.
Thank you for enlightening me to that fact. I'll talk to our CFO just so everyone understands. On the CARES Act, the issue is we want to get the money out to all the people that need it and or businesses, et cetera. Our CFO is just very worried because he's seen this happen before, where a year from now they come in and audit us and say, oh, by the way, you haven't followed X, Y, and Z, whatever it says. And unfortunately, the Department of Commerce is one set. The auditor's office, as they come in and audit you, is a whole different set. And I just know some of our folks seem to be paranoid about the auditor side, not the Department of Commerce side. But nevertheless, we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Fortunately, we did get an email confirming that we have till November 30th now, rather than October 31st, to disperse the funds. So that will help.
Right, and that certainly was one more issue, was the cutoff. It kept moving, and let's be honest, it's still a moving target, it seems like. So,
Okay, thanks so much, Nicole. Does anybody have any questions for Nicole?
Just one
And-
question from Ed
Is
here,
it-
Vincent Paul for Nicole. If people do not have any internet or anything, can they just call your office and that if we give them the number and you can assist them that way, or?
Absolutely. We've had the CSRs walking through the applications with some folks. So yeah, we'll help them any way we can.
And the policy on shut off is, what is the current policy at the moment?
There's still a moratorium till or through October 15th, and the governor's office is under a lot of pressure to continue that. PUDs are concerned because we don't want people to just think, I don't have to pay, so I'm not going to pay. We're working with customers to get them into some long-term payment arrangements. We want to get them the CARES funds, anything we can do to help them get set up for success. But it is a concern with if the moratorium gets extended out too long.
Right. Thank you, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
And is this $45,000 assistance restricted to COVID-related employment only?
It is COVID related, yes, although that can be interpreted loosely because it doesn't have to be directly a layoff or hours reduction. It could be because they had to stay home to care for a family member or they were sick. So there is some wiggle room there.
Okay, thanks, Nicole.
And Nicole did put in the chat box a link to the program.
I was wondering, Nicole, if there's any thought about putting a note in the bills so that the word gets spread to all the customers.
That's a good question. We have so many people on electronic statements now that bill inserts just aren't effective anymore, but it is coming out in our customer newsletter the first week of October, and that goes to every customer.
Great.
Okay, next up,
I have
Chair.
a question, if I
Oh,
may.
wait. Oh, yes, please, Kai. Sorry about that.
And that is, I recall that years ago, the PUD had a program, and I think they actually had a person on staff to look at the PUD somehow helping with its infrastructure to provide high-speed internet to parts of the county that currently do not have it through the telephone company and that do not have cable TV. And then I think there were various issues due to which that program did not go forward. Is there anything about restarting that? Is there any chance of that with the current push for rural high-speed internet to use the PUD infrastructure to give high-speed internet to areas, for example, that are unlikely to get cable TV from wave cable because there are just not enough customers where they live?
It's similar to water. We have different water systems, things like that, where if a local, they could form a local utility district. And we've had homeowners associations ask us about bringing fiber to their areas before, but it ends up being too cost prohibitive. And PUDs have not had retail authority. So we work with the ISPs to provide service, and we're limited by where they're willing to go. We have applied for a broadband infrastructure grant and are waiting to hear on that. We actually had a really good response from local agencies in sending us letters of support to go along with that grant request. But there is a push because of what's happened this year. There's going to be a bill introduced. It's a representative in Kitsap County in the legislature next session to give retail authority to utilities, PUDs specifically, with no barriers. There was an adaptation last session that allowed, and it was Kitsap PUD that put this forth, where they could extend service to customers, but it was only if there was no service whatsoever. And the ISPs consider, even if you have the equivalent of dial-up, that you have service. So it will be interesting to see what momentum that gets. They think it's going to have the wind at its back this next session.
I think if you could perhaps send me some more details, or perhaps through Colleen on that. I think this is something that both the Port Angeles Business Association Government Affairs Committee and perhaps also NOLA should take up. I think one of the major issues in our county is to provide universal broadband internet access at some point in the not too distant future. And I think the PUD could play an important role as long as grant funding is available. I understand the PUD may not be able to fund this on its own. I mean, there are issues with rate setting authority and so forth, but if federal and state governments make it a priority as a national or statewide infrastructure project, I think this could be an important supplement. Starlink is great, but not everybody will be able to afford $1,000 a year. So there might be another option to provide not quite as fast internet, over the power poles if legal impediments can be removed. Colleen, just one question to make sure I got the information right. When you're speaking earlier about Starlink, were you talking about upload or download speeds when we're talking about a gigabyte and the 100 megabytes?
That was all upload. But Kai, I ask that you don't email that out broadly, because I don't want the state broadband director, Russ Elliott, or Melvin John from the Hogue Tribe to be upset that,
Okay,
you know,
I
we're
will not
sharing it very
include that in
broadly.
the information I send out to PABA. But for my information, do you know what the download speeds are? I mean, usually download speeds are faster than upload speeds, from my experience.
They did not talk about that. They did talk about, I'll forward you the email that that gave a little recap of it. The latency was good. You know, the different types of characteristics, how they measure the broadband, all looked very good.
Okay, well, thank you. I will not distribute this further until I hear from you that it's okay to do so. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yep. Okay. Cherish. Cherish is the executive director of Olycap, which serves Clallam and Jefferson counties.
Good morning, everyone. Let me know if my internet is too unstable, and I'll stop my video so that at least my audio is good. I don't know what you have going on in Port Angeles this morning, but here in Port Townsend, very high winds. And so my power went off and on last night. That was a lot of fun. So hope you're not dealing with that over there. So thank you, Colleen, for letting me come on today to talk a little bit about what we have available in Clallam. Again, Olycap is your community action agency for your county, and our agency has and focuses on services to low-income individuals. So the most important thing we have right now regarding the CARES funding is we have some rental and some mortgage assistance. So we have over $100,000 to help homeowners a mortgage payment or mortgage payments. We have written into the contract to help up to $2,000 payment. If we start to get a lot of, you know, right now we haven't gotten a lot of referrals for the mortgage assistance. So despite having it in the paper, and I issued a press release last week or the week before, we're not getting a lot of referrals on that. And the documentation on it really isn't bad. Is my video, Raj was saying maybe I should turn off my video.
It's been a little bit intermittent, Cherish.
Okay, so let's see if that helps matters. I'm not a morning person anyways. So so the documentation for the mortgage assistance is minimal. And we do our best to try to, you know, assist the family. So essentially, we just want to see if they've had a drop in household income in the last 30 days or any time since March 17th, and then have a monthly rent or mortgage payment that's greater than 30% of their income. We measure that income, though, just from the last 30 days, right? In arrears on their mortgage. I have put in the chat link the link that can be utilized for people to fill out requesting assistance. If somebody doesn't have internet, and let's say you're working with someone, one of you folks are working with them, you are welcome to walk them through filling this form out, so you can fill it out for them. That's great. Or they, of course, can call the office, leave a message, and one of our staff members will get back to them. Or our, depending on what our receptionist is doing at the time, she will actually walk somebody through the housing or any of the assistance forms as well. So, so try and make it, you know, as easy as possible. So, you know, we certainly want to have any of those referrals. Serenity House, you know, has the emergency rent assistance program money in Clallam County, but what we did was made sure that we had some funds that would dovetail nicely with those funds, because we have the ERAP funds here in Jefferson, so we know the criteria. So subsequently, Serenity is sending us over anytime there, maybe is somebody that doesn't fit into their criteria that we could potentially use CARES Act funding to help, or utilize one of our other funding streams to be able to assist them. We still have a little bit of money left over from the Peninsula Daily News. And, if any of that money gets reimbursed to us through CARES funding, then we'll have that money past November 30th. So, that's potentially a good option too. But we certainly would appreciate your referrals over for mortgage. When we have that person discussing mortgages with them, we of course are going to see if they're eligible for our energy assistance program, the LIHEAP program, right? That way if they are eligible for LIHEAP, that's helping them with utilities, for an entire year, not just one payment. PUD could potentially, help them with the utility payment. We might be able to help with some utility payments, but getting them on LIHEAP means, helping them for the entire year. So we certainly encourage that. Excuse me. And then right now we also have openings in our workforce development program. So if you know any folks that are interested in working with our workforce development, please, have them fill out an application to the agency. And I can put in some data there into the chat about if you want to contact one of our staff members directly about the workforce development.
Karish, I had one question. You broke up for just a half a second, and did you indicate that they need to be behind in their mortgage payment to qualify?
Yeah, ideally we had it set that they need to be, but if we need to waive that, we'll certainly look at doing that. We set that because you never know when you write these contracts and grants, right? You think, oh my goodness, we're going to be swamped, and we better make sure that we prioritize these folks who are in arrears. So, if it continues this way that we're not getting a lot of referrals, then we'll certainly drop that need to be in arrears. What other questions can I answer for anyone?
Am I correct, Cherish, that for that program, you can pay 1 month in advance? So if someone, like, say their mortgage payment was due by the 15th, if they didn't pay that, then they could get September, or if they didn't pay it in October, they could get October and November's mortgage payments. Is that right?
We have until November to pay ahead. So we can go through November on that. With the ERAP money that Serenity has and that we have in Jefferson, we can go through December. All the deadlines are confusing, but yeah, if they think that going ahead they're going to have a struggle meeting this month, next month, November, then yeah, certainly let's take a look at that and let us assist there.
I have a question, if I may.
Yeah, please.
First, I want to compliment you on this program. I think it is so much better than just a moratorium on rent and mortgage payments, which just shifts the burden onto the landlord or the lender, who may or may not be able to bear it any better than the tenant or the homeowner. And my question is, clearly it applies to somebody who lives in a residence who can make their mortgage payments. What about a small landlord who may own a building where the tenant has availed him or herself of the rent moratorium, but the landlord still has to pay the mortgage and property taxes and so forth? Would that individual who owns the property also be able to apply for this?
Yeah, so we are encouraging landlords and property owners to to contact us, because even, you know, they may or may not qualify, right? So that's when we would try and, if there was an issue there, we would reach out to the tenant if we needed to do that. But, you know, in the circumstances, you know, part of, you know, what we've been pushing for and wanting to help with is exactly that. You know, the smaller landlords and sole proprietorships and, you know, individuals who are trying to make their mortgage and rental payments as well, right? So we want to be supportive to everyone in the community. So if your tenant's not reaching out to get that money, then absolutely, we would like for you to reach out to us and see how we might be able to assist directly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cherish. So I'd like to add that I've done a bit of a non-scientific survey of the major banks in our area, and that included Sound Community Bank, First Federal, Kitsap Bank, and Bank of America, and that have mortgages in our community, in our county. Some of the banks resell their mortgages, so they don't have great information. And but each of them did some research. Some of them have home equity lines of credit, and so I checked in with them about how many foreclosures are you looking at? You know, how many distressed loans do you have? How many are now considered a troubled debt asset, which is an official term that really gives you a hit on your credit score. And if they've been communicating with their borrowers, generally speaking, and if someone was behind in payments, they worked through a deferral program. And so they really, by and large, like First Federal said they had one property that was going through like a foreclosure process in Clallam County, only one. But they had a huge amount of properties that were being restructured. The loans were being restructured, and the payments are being deferred. So the other thing that I did is I contacted James and Associates, and they have over 1,000 tenants and in 700 units. And of that, Terry James said that there's only 10 that have been behind. Now that is the case, but you know, all sorts of folks have gotten the $600 per week that took them from March through July. And then just recently there was the lost wages assistance program, which gave people that were on unemployment a one-time check of $1,500. So that has helped for August. Now we're in September, and there aren't any resources that are similar, and we're not anticipating any resources at the federal level to be available. You know, your guess is as good as mine. You know, who knows what Congress will do. But anyway, I just wanted to share that it seems like this is a bit of a calm before the storm, potentially, if there's not a federal program. And and with that restructuring with the banks, for whether it be your own personal mortgage, or if you have a commercial loan for a commercial property where you have some tenants, typically what they're doing is, if you had a 20-year loan or a 30-year loan, and you had, you know, paid off, say, 2 years of it, so you had 24 months that you had paid off. Now it's added on to the end of it for the months that you have not paid. I'm not clear. Different banks do different things, I understand, with the interest that's deferred, and, you know, how is that handled? But by and large, this shouldn't be hitting people's credit scores, which is a positive thing. Does anybody want to add? Do we have any bankers on the line that can give any more color to that? Because I'm just repeating what they've been telling me. Okay, no, I don't see any, but I see that so thank you, Cherish, very much for that information. Really appreciate it.
And I did put in the chat box some information regarding our supported employment program. So if anyone sees individuals that meet that criteria, please reach out to our director, Dina. And also I want to make sure that, I avail myself. If you all, know individuals that or making referrals, or know a family that's in need of something that's not being addressed in our community, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let's help that person. Our agent food banks to having home healthcare aides. Let's not let anyone in our community suffer in a way they shouldn't.
Okay, thank you, Cherish. So we also have Dylan. I thought maybe we could have Andra speak a bit as well. If Dylan, are you at your office yet where you can talk now?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, I am.
So Dylan is from Serenity House, and he's the Director of Coordinated Entry. Correct.
So at this time, our big focus has been on that ERAP program. As it is, we have about $700,000 and $80,000 for our youth program to also disperse for ERAP. We have subgranted with the Healthy Transitions team, which is a youth mental health group that has a lot of work that they do on the West End, specifically with the tribes. So a few of the members of the Healthy Transition team are representation of different tribes that we have in our county. So it's a big benefit to be able to get out there and get to some of the tribal housing that is otherwise becoming in arrears as well. Our big focus in the next couple of weeks will be to really triple down on this outreach effort and to get really as many people that we can served. It is one of those, as Sharsh was saying previously, things where we need to get ahead of and not, let things fall into a place where we're kind of trying to catch everything in December or late November, because at that point it's much harder to get ahead of it. We are getting quite a few people daily either referring themselves our housing hotline or through the school district is our predominant liaison for some of these connections, as I've worked with Becca Larson through the Port Angeles School District, as well as the Marty Brewer, and I tried to get some of their PTA meetings to surround this conversation a little bit more and get that information out. But yeah, we're really just trying to get that word out, and we have the flyers and other kinds of information that can be distributed to any partners or any people who would like to get involved. At this time, we're trying to conduct as many trainings as we can with agencies and within our county to be able to get that full wraparound approach as the county.
Okay, thanks, Dylan.
So large. I'm working to. Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
So the program is for people that are at the 50% of area median income or below, and they can get up to 3 months of rent, correct?
They can get up to 3 months of rent, correct? And it's either they need to have at least a month or a partial month in arrears, and we cannot pay more than a month in advance at this point. We're trying to see if there's any other, mitigation in that with with commerce, as well as some other little tweaks as far as fair market rate, and they just have they have a payout differentiation between a fair market rate payout or an 80% of the rent due. So the qualifications, though, at this point are at first the making sure that they're at 50% area market income, and then there's also our area median income, and that they have a month or a partial month in our arrears. After that, there is the COVID affected.
So am I correct, though, that people can self-certify saying that they are, that they're the last 60 days of income they can self-certify that they are at that 50% area median income? Is that right?
That is right. We are going to try our best to obtain as much documentation as we can, but within the grant, it doesn't require these things to be, the ultimatum of our following through. So if they self-certify and give us, a written declaration of these things, that will be sufficient. We still are going to need to follow up with the landlord and get the W-9 and whatnot for our uses.
So your program, and I assume other programs, they all will be taxed. This income that they received will be taxed, but if they're in a really low income bracket, most likely they won't be paying any taxes. Am I right about that? I'm
not super keen on that, honestly. I can follow up with you.
Lena, can you shed any light on that?
I'm not sure. Is the rent payment going directly to the landlord, or would the rent go to the tenant and then the tenant pays the landlord? Because if it goes directly to the landlord, then the 1099 will be reported to the landlord anyway.
Yeah, it goes directly to the landlord.
So
okay.
It would be taxed on the landlord's level, but it really no differently than if the tenant had paid rent. My other question, though, is do we know what the 50% median income level is?
I put that in.
Yes.
If you go to Choose Clallam First, there's a little table I created that shows the 50% area median income for 2020, and then by month. So it's by year and by month, and I'll put that link in the chat box.
And then would somebody apply for this through the Serenity House program?
So we have multiple different avenues. I can share the flyer that I have at this point. I'm going to adjust it to be able to have that column saying the different categories of area medium income, because I believe that's the largest confusion onto all of this. But the easiest way, my apologies, the easiest way would be to give us a call at our housing hotline phone number. We have the 360-504 565-5041. That's the one. And the extension would be 1. The housing specialist that I have in charge of the pledges for that, her name is Paula. Other than that, we do have criteria on our website under our ERAP page. It does have further information as to the even question and answers stuff that we have from Commerce. It also provides a link to our email to otherwise fill out the ERAP if they would like to on their own and submit it, and or call us, give us an inquiry in any way that they can reach us, where we're trying to provide that so that we can make a good follow-up.
And are you saying ERAP, like the letter EWRAP?
No,
ERAP.
so Eviction Rental Assistance Program.
Okay.
Okay, we have 10 minutes left. I want to get to Allison Brecky, and maybe she can talk about programs that exist or that will be open again soon at the city of Port Angeles for people that live in the city limits, and then also Andra. So Allison, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. And I just want to applaud every organization's effort in helping our community right now. I'm just really impressed hearing about all the programs. So I just added in the chat menu the website that does take people to the city's utility relief program. We still have money available in that program. We're hoping to get more from our Community Development Block Grant CARES Act money. We are trying to, right now there is a fillable form. It's just not a form that you can automatically upload through our website. We are trying to make that easier for people. We've heard a few people challenged with, with the idea of needing to print something out and dropping it off. There is a website on that page, so if you do complete the form, you can just send it in via that way. Not the easiest. We are trying to make it easier. A couple, I was unable to get the actual latest and greatest numbers, and I apologize, but we do, for the utility relief, it's my understanding that we are just giving that relief to owners in subsequent months. So we are receiving a lot of documentation for the reasons that's already been mentioned. For the mortgage and rental relief, we still are also, we're really trying to get this out to business owners, honestly, just to remind them that it can help them with some relief there. And that's really all I have for you today. I apologize, I don't have too many notes, but we do still have money. It is going quickly. As we know, the need is greater than what we have to offer.
So thank you, Allison. I do want to emphasize again that on the website, Choose Clallam First, which is the Clallam EDC response website for all things COVID related. We have business resources and then the grants that are available to businesses right now that are up to $10,000. And a CDBG grant that's at $4,000 plus business advising from the Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship. And then we also have community resources which show the status of unemployment, lost wages assistance, that kind of thing. And then also rent relief programs. I'm going to put the information on mortgage relief in there today. And then also utility relief, I'll have it on there for if you live in the city or if you, which I don't currently have, and the information on the program that the PUD has is on there right now. So we're trying to, collect those types of programs at that site. And we'll certainly share our information out as a general resource as well. And, also there's the Disaster Relief Fund that the DSHS is managing, and they statewide, there's been over $40 million for that, and that can just be cash to individuals. So, and then there's a website called WashingtonConnection.org, which allows someone to go in and find out what kind of things they qualify for at the state level. There's also been another $223 million that has been distributed from the state for childcare support. So, and that program is just now rolling out. And keep in mind, all of this funding has to be spent by the end of the year. So it's something that we really need to get the information out and get it to the people right away. So with that, I see, Kai, you have your hand up, but I'd like to be able to allow Andra to, who's one of my board members, to be able to speak about the food banks programs, and then we'll go to Kai.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks, Colleen. I can give you just a real quick update on what we're doing here in Sequim and just give a little bit of a quicker overview of what's happening in Clallam County in regards to food insecurity and food access. The Sequim Food Bank, since, just to give you a bit of numbers, since March, the families that we are serving has increased 174%. We're seeing quite a bit more in the Sequim, Eastern Clallam County, obviously, than we have ever seen before. A lot of that is as thankful that we are able to work with county governments and authorities, as well as city authorities and ourselves, to offer a community food distribution every Wednesday. That's been happening since the beginning of June. Right now it runs through every week through September 30th. We are averaging about 500 families each week that we're seeing through that process. And that's family numbers, not people served, just families. So beginning in October, we will be moving that process to twice a month, the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. From 11 to 2, we'll be offering a box of non-perishable goods, and then at least 1 or 2 boxes of perishable goods, which includes dairy, produce, and protein, as well as dry and canned goods. There is also that is in addition to our regular distribution days, which are on Friday and Saturday mornings and Monday afternoons. So we do everything we can to help ensure that there's access, and anyone that needs food has access to food in Eastern Clallam County. We also have weekend meal bags that we supply and offer to children who may not have access to food or available to food over the weekends. And historically we work with the school districts and the Boys and Girls Club. We're working again with the school district to create some sort of a plan as how we can get that out to families. We also work with Head Start and make sure that families there have access to food. We also partner with Clallam Mosaic, just in any other way that we can find an access to help families that need food. Just historically, Clallam County has a higher percentage of food insecurity in families than the state average. This is pre-COVID numbers, around 14%, when I think that the average was about 12% for Washington State. And in particular, young children, Clallam County had an extremely high percentage of food insecure children, close to 25%. And those were pre-COVID numbers. Of course, the numbers now have gone up quite a bit. I think I'm taking most of the time, Colleen. I apologize.
That's okay.
But across the board, what we see in Sequim is not any different than what's happening in Port Angeles and Forks and off in the West End as well, farther west to our. I know Forks in particular, their food bank has seen a huge increase. Port Angeles also has a community distribution they do on Saturdays. We're just all working together. We have a food coalition, a Peninsula Food Coalition, where we are in contact with all of our community food banks and tribal food banks and any other organization. Olycap is a huge help for us as well in our work that we do. United Way has been a huge help, and especially in the beginning for all of our food banks, in ensuring that we had food and enough storage capacity to hold what was coming in. So, and our community has been wonderful. Historically, they're always great, and especially now, it's great to have the community support with us. So thank you so much.
Andra, are you taking donations at this time?
We are not accepting drop-off food donations at this time. We are accepting produce donations right now. However, in the past, people could just drop their gardening. Their produce abundance is off, and now you have to arrange to have someone to meet with you or someone to come when someone is here to accept it. So that's the only type of community donation we're seeing right now. Financial support is our biggest need at this time.
Okay, thank you, Andra. And Kai, you had a question?
Ed for Andra here from St. Vincent de Paul. I know a couple local farmers in that. Are you accepting some of their crops, potatoes, things like that, fresh fruits at all? For
Yes.
donations?
Absolutely. We work really closely with our local farms. We also we have contracts right now with 4 farms in Clallam County to purchase produce from them. We also work really closely with farms and accept their gleaning and such, and community gleans. We have a really robust gleaning program through WSU Extension that's really helpful for us as well. I did want to add one more thing. Through the Sequim Health and Housing Collaborative, which the food bank is part of, we have representatives there from the collaborative at our community distributions on Wednesdays to help families that may need just some guidance and what's available. And the programs that were discussed this morning through Serenity and Olycap and PUD, as well as other programs, are what the outreach team can help guide families. So if you know of someone who just wants to talk to someone about what's available, we have representatives of the collaborative there from 11 to 2 to help out. So just send them there today on Wednesdays.
Thank you. Kai, you had a question?
Well, it's a comment, something for a future consideration, see if others heard the same. I've heard anecdotally that commercial property and business owners have recently had their insurance double and even triple, which when times are tight, can be a double or triple whammy to them. Which seems to be largely because of risky things happening in places like Seattle rather than anything actually occurring in Port Angeles or Clallam County. I'm wondering if others have heard the same thing. And if this is something that's widespread, it might be worth thinking about. I'm not generally in favor of more government regulation, but it might be something worthwhile talking to the insurance commissioner about whether insurance company should spread over the whole state the cost of risks that really do not apply in rural areas like ours that already are struggling.
Good point. Does anybody have a follow-up to Kai's point there that he made? Okay, if not, I see a few last comments here, some thank yous, and from Nicole, she says the Clallam PUD, the CARES funds are a one-time application, residential customers only, though applicants should have had a response within the week. Otherwise, we collect neighborly assistant funds year-round that we pass through to the local assistance agencies such as Olycap, Serenity House, and St. Vincent de Paul, and they administer those funds. Nicole, how much money do you typically collect in that program that you mentioned there, the neighborly assistance funds?
That I'm not sure. I could get the answer from our customer service team on that. We have a dedicated credit and collections specialist who works with those funds.
Okay.
But I can send you an email on that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So anyway, this coffee chat will be recorded on our website, Choose Clallam First, under Coffee with Colleen. And so if you go there, you'll see the topics of every week's coffee chat. And so if somebody wanted to get some detailed information, it'll be a YouTube link and it should be up in a few hours today. So it can be used as a resource. And if anybody has any further questions, I think now's the time. Otherwise, we'll call it a morning. Okay, thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.